Hi. For any of you that don't know me, my name is Lion. And that's Lion, spelled exactly like the animal. And I know that's a very, very strange name, and I would actually like to share with you the story of how I got that name. So my father, when he was born, his parents gave him a name in Chinese that translated to lion in English, which is what they called him. Now, they quickly realized how strange of a name this was, though, and so they changed it to Peter, which is what he still goes by today. But he found out about this name change and decided Lion is such a cool name. When I have a son, I'm going to name him Lion. And thus, decades later, when I was born, that's how I got my name. And that's really what I'm here to talk to you guys about today, names. Specifically, what I want to answer is, do they matter? Does it make a difference what you get named? Do names have some sort of power over your life? Can it predict who you marry, where you'll live, what kind of job you'll have, even your political preferences? But before we get into that, I would like to first go over how we even get our names in the first place. So the story I just told you, the story of how I got my name, is actually a fairly common one. See, the details may be slightly different, or the name itself is probably less strange than Lion, but in essence, I was named after a family member. And that is the most common way children receive their names in the United States these days. According to a nationwide poll taken last year, 49% of all babies are given a name which one of their relatively recent ancestors have also had. And that makes sense, right? I mean, for religious or sentimental reasons, we seem to love giving our kids the names of somebody who came before us. In fact, about 20% of that 49% was named for religious reasons. And of course, in giving their children these names, the parents will hope that they have wonderful and prosperous lives, but they don't use these names to actively try and influence their kids' lives, right? But what about cases where the parents do that? See, in 2014, there were over 500 reported births of children with the names Princeton, Harvard, Yale, or Stanford. Now, these are obvious allusions to the prestigious universities which derive their names. Over the past decade, there have also been hundreds of princesses or winners as parents try and imbue those qualities upon their children. So, does it work? I mean, that's the question we care about. That's the one we're trying to answer today. And I know it may sound like a cop-out, but there are actually too few kids given these kinds of names they have to live up to, like Harvard or Stanford, to draw any conclusive data from them. See, parents, most parents, will give their kids names based on how it sounds, or most commonly just what the latest fad is going around. They don't try and do things like this to their children. Now, whether you may know about it or not, we've actually been trying to answer this question of does it make a difference for a very long time now. In 1948, a study done at Harvard University has revealed that men with more common names like Mike are far more likely to pass their courses than males with less common names like Barian. Since then, countless studies have come out suggesting that names have some sort of predictive power on your lives. They can tell where you'll live, what kind of jobs you'll have, your average income, who you'll marry, and most strangely, whether or not you'll donate to certain charities. A 2006 study done in England showed that pre-adolescent to adolescent males with very uncommon names, or very girly names, were far more likely to act out and misbehave than their counterparts with more common names. And that same study also showed that girls with more traditionally girly names, like Isabella, for instance, were more likely to gravitate towards humanities courses, whereas their counterparts with more androgynous names were more likely to go into STEM. We have the, by far, most stark example of names influencing our lives, race. In 2004, Professors Marian Bertrand of the University of Chicago and Sndihil Mullainathan of Harvard University conducted a now famous experiment in which they sent resumes to various corporations based in both Chicago and Boston. Now, these resumes were identical, with the one difference being the names on them. One set had black-sounding names, Jamal and Lakeisha in this case, and the other had white-sounding names, Emily and Greg. And the results were both very conclusive and very disturbing, as the white-sounding resumes received 50% more callbacks and interview opportunities than their black counterparts. Additionally, since then, Professors Dane Figlio of Northwestern University and Jean Twenge of San Diego State University both did independent research showing that children with more black-sounding names were far less likely to be chosen for advanced placement courses or honors courses than students with more white-sounding names, even if the person bearing that name was black. So, does what you are named matter? In a broad sense, yes, it does. Of course, whatever name you give your child, it will grow to become an integral part of his or her identity.